What's up, guys? We finally had time to analyze UFC 285, the main event, Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane, and I said this yesterday, there is so much technique to break down in half a round. Jon Jones really proved in this fight that he is the greatest of all time, skill for skill, pound for pound, probably beats whoever heavyweight, and regardless of what you think of the guy, he has proved once again that he is one of the greatest of all time. And in this video, we're going to be breaking down his skill. I'm going to be playing parts of the fight, be breaking down the technique that a lot of you guys might not even have noticed. If you guys missed the last video, I actually got a lot of this fight correct. I got a lot of what I thought was going to happen correct. So I'm going to be breaking down how Jon Jones used a lot of techniques that I knew that he was going to use, how I didn't know he was going to use, and how Ciryl Gane also used some techniques. So without further ado, let's get in this video. Please hit a like, subscribe, comment, and all that, because this video is going to be a little bit harder to edit, but I'm going to do this because I just think that this video is so important to actually appreciate the skill of Jon Jones. Alright, the first thing to break down about this fight, Jon Jones steps into the octagon, and weirdly enough, Commission starts to check his feet, and a lot of people were like, what the hell's going on? A lot of people that haven't watched Jon Jones must be completely confused. So for those of you guys that don't know, all the way back in 2013, Jon Jones faced off against Ciryl Gane. All the way back in UFC 159, Jon Jones made easy work of Ciryl Gane and got rid of him in the first round. But what Jon Jones didn't notice was in the middle of the fight, during some sort of grappling exchange, Jon Jones broke his toe off totally, and he didn't notice till the post-fight interview, I guess because of shock and adrenaline and all of that. And ever since then, he's wearing tape around his toes just because of the pain of it. And also, I mean, you don't want that shit to happen to you again. I mean, that was just cringe enough watching, so I could imagine that happening to you. But this time, for some reason, when he went in the octagon, the commission was like, hey, you can't wrap your feet. And according to Jon Jones himself, he told the commission, look, if I can't wrap my feet, I am not competing.
And when I got out there, the commission was just like, you can't tape your feet. And I'm like, dude, I've always taped my feet. I'm not going to compete if I can't tape my toes. I just won't do it. I want everyone to know that for the future. So thank God we didn't have a disaster out there tonight.
So at that point, they had to come to some sort of compromise and only cut some of the tape off, and they left the tape on his toes so he can compete against Ciryl Gane. So then we get into the actual fight, and Jon Jones is in his crouching position that he's usually in. Now, Jon Jones takes the center of the octagon, which is going to be essential, right? Like I said, Ciryl Gane is going to be doing best when he's going forward, or if it's in the center. They're just both in the middle, kind of mutually being there. Ciryl Gane is going to pick him apart, so it's pivotal for him to push Ciryl Gane backwards. And immediately, Jon Jones hits Ciryl Gane with a leg kick. Now, I said that Jon Jones could use leg kicks. You have to slow down the movement of Ciryl Gane somehow, and that's a perfect way to. And I think Jon Jones' game plan specifically in this fight was to use the lead leg kick. I said Ciryl Gane should use this technique to avoid getting taken down, which we're going to break down later how actually I was wrong about that. But I think it was just so he could be faster with the leg kick so they could add up a lot more. But then Ciryl Gane lands the most significant strike from him in the fight and kicks Jon Jones in the groin within the first 4 seconds of the fight. Now look, these things could happen with southpaw and orthodox fighters when you're kicking on the inside. I believe it happened to Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo. That's how actually Figueiredo got a point deducted in their first fight. However, Jon Jones points this out to the referee and they have a break. Then after the break, Jon Jones immediately starts going forward once again. Now at this point, I think we have the smartest thing that Jon Jones prepared for. If you guys watched my previous video breaking down the fight, I said that Ciryl Gane should use lead leg kicks because they're fast and Jon Jones probably won't take him down with these. Now Jon Jones playing ultimate 3D chess, not only focusing on Ciryl Gane's weak points, but also his strong points and his own weak points. He did this a couple times in the fight. He prepared to catch the kick and either go for a trip, which we're going to see later on, or do what he just does here and land a big left hand. His foot's on the outside. It lands pretty flush. And we're only 18 seconds into the fight, and here's another smart move from Jon Jones. Jon Jones smartly applying pressure to Ciryl Gane, and that was going to be the key to this fight. Now, when you look at Jon Jones' moves, a lot of people, they get confused when pressuring your opponent. They follow the opponent, but rather than follow the opponent, Jon Jones is moving laterally, opposed to just walking forward. Now, an example of this is when Michael Chandler knocked out Dan Hooker. Michael Chandler was doing the same thing, moving laterally around the octagon to trap Dan Hooker so he wasn't allowed to exit, and that's what Jon Jones is doing here. Jon Jones is trapping Ciryl Gane just by that sidestep, making it so that Ciryl Gane has no exit point. Now, although Jon did good, especially in certain points of the fight, he did this once again later on, Jon Jones was never really able to keep it up. Michael Chandler did a lot better of a job, but to be fair, Ciryl Gane definitely has a lot better footwork than Dan Hooker does. So because Jon goes for this oblique kick, Ciryl Gane finds room to just exit out and circle out away from Jon Jones. So once again, they're back in the center, and Jon Jones is moving forward, but Ciryl Gane once again goes for that lead leg kick. Now, Jon catches it, and in this moment, Ciryl Gane's thinking, hey, he's gonna punch me. But at this point, Jon Jones goes for a trip, which I said he was going to do in the fight, and he kind of feints, throwing the left hand just to grab behind Ciryl Gane just so he can go for a little trip. He's unsuccessful with the trip, but at this point, Ciryl Gane's main weapon, which he uses in a lot of his fights, he uses that lead leg kick. His weapon is gone. That is something that Ciryl does in a lot of his fights, and at this point, this is just making Ciryl uncomfortable. He can't even use the same techniques that he's used to, and this is 28 seconds into the fight. So when the trip is unsuccessful, they break. Jon Jones goes for another leg kick and misses. Once again, Jon Jones moving laterally opposed to just going forward. And I feel like John's oblique kicks were really the problem with him getting out of that pressure. It's almost maybe something that he shouldn't have done, even though I said in my original video that's something he should do. I think oblique kicks are usually better anyway going forward, and moving backwards, yes, they could hurt, but not as much, because every time he threw an oblique kick, Ciryl Gane was just able to exit out the other side because Jon Jones would just be left wide open. I think maybe in hindsight, Ciryl Gane should have went for a counter in these moments. I mean, Jon Jones is clearly off balance, but that's something that Jon Jones is doing, because like I said in my video, beating a guy like Ciryl Gane, you have to make him think about what you're doing opposed to what he should do. Ciryl Gane, the whole fight was concerned, what is Jon Jones going to do? Is he going to catch my lead leg kick? Is he going to push me behind the octagon and shoot for a takedown? There were so many things running through Cyryl's head, plus the pressure of the event, which we're going to get to at the end of the video, but he's able to break out to the other side, not looking for any counters, not looking for anything else. And this is something that I said in my breakdown was vital, getting takedowns in the open. If this is one of those things where Jon Jones telegraphs a shot and Ciryl Gane's able to race to the side of the octagon, strength for strength, I still believe Ciryl Gane would win that match. I think in the clinch, Ciryl Gane would do a lot better than Jon Jones, just because I think he's naturally a heavyweight. He's been a heavyweight his whole career, and I would bet that he's stronger than Jon Jones. So what Jon Jones does is he decides to slip the left hand and immediately get a body lock and then go for kind of a trick, but most of this was just pure strength from Jon Jones. I mean, he basically just dragged Ciryl Gane to the mat. Now Ciryl Gane is on all fours, Jon Jones holding a body lock on him, and at this point I thought Ciryl Gane was going to be able to get up, but we see here that he makes a big technical error on the side of the fence. So when they're on the side of the fence, Jon Jones puts his left leg over and around Ciryl Gane's left leg, trying to put a hook in to keep him there. And then when they're on the side of the octagon, Ciryl Gane thinks he's safe. He thinks, okay, now this is a clinch battle. Jon Jones decides to change levels, kind of pull him behind the knees a little bit just to get him on the ground. Now Jon Jones is on top of him in the side of the octagon, and now this was the beginning of the end for Ciryl Gane. And Ciryl Gane is against the octagon, so Jon Jones puts his hand over Ciryl Gane's head for his first guillotine attempt. I don't think Jon Jones thought this was going to work, because you could see here clearly kind of over the nose and over the mouth, and you want that under the neck, and this just makes you uncomfortable. You know, this is something that maybe Ciryl Gane would try to push away, maybe Jon Jones could take advantage, but Ciryl Gane is doing the right thing. He's pushing off the hips, just pushing his head kind of backwards, trying to get some space. Jon Jones abandons the guillotine, and who the hell is Hank Schrader over there? Hold up, dude, that looks like Hank Schrader from Breaking Bad. What the shit? He's looking more intensely than I think any MMA fan would. Like, that guy must be a hardcore fan. Like, look at him. But anyway, Ciryl Gane tries to kind of get up, and doing this, he kind of brings his neck forward. I think to just try to stand up was his goal. Jon Jones immediately takes advantage of this and actually gets a good guillotine on him. Now, obviously, I think a lot of you guys know that this was the final guillotine. Jon Jones gets the submission, but I want to talk about specifically why this guillotine was actually really good. Now, a lot of people, including myself, would make an amateur mistake of just kind of pulling up with the guillotine, right? Kind of like pulling the hand up and just kind of keeping your shoulders just steady, right? Jon Jones didn't do that. Because he's in this position, Jon Jones decides to like hunch his back, putting his body weight on the back of Ciryl Gane's neck while pushing up with his hand, adding such an extra squeeze to this choke. And basically at this point, Ciryl Gane must have felt like his head was gonna pop off. I mean, Jon Jones was like almost 250 pounds, squeezing with his arms, his whole body weight on top of his neck. It was a picture-perfect guillotine, and Ciryl Gane taps. And originally I was like, damn, I didn't expect Jon Jones to get the guillotine. If you look at the replay, this guillotine was just beautiful. Literally perfect, well executed. You could not have executed it more. The fight is over, and Ciryl Gane is just left like, what the hell just happened? But that's the breakdown of the fight. And look, Ciryl Gane is a guy that I think will be the heavyweight champion at some point. I think Jon Jones maybe retires this year. We see Ciryl Gane back next year for a vacant fight. I think he beats anybody else. I would love to see them have another event in France, have him headline there, and maybe we're talking about him in the beginning of next year. I don't think Jon Jones will be the champ for long, just because I think he's going to retire soon. And one of the major things I think won Jon Jones the fight was his composure, was his calmness, because Jon Jones was nervous. You could tell, I could tell that both guys were extremely nervous. Ciryl Gane was nervous, Jon Jones was nervous, because yes, while Ciryl Gane did have those fights with Ngannou, fighting Jon Jones is another deal. Like, this was on another scale. This is the greatest of all time. Probably a guy he was watching when he was younger, and he's going up against him. This is a big spot for Ciryl Gane, and this is a big spot for Jon Jones. Jon Jones had a lot riding on this fight. If he loses the fight, basically the last 3 years of his life were just wasted. But the difference is that Jon Jones has been in those scenarios. Jon Jones has been in those stressful scenarios, coming back from suspensions, from crimes, from anything, you name it. Jon Jones has faced against champions before. He has faced against tough competition before. He's dealt with that pressure, and he knows how to fuel that pressure. Ciryl Gane is still new to the sport, and I think he'll be able to channel that a little bit better. And a lot of people are saying, hey, Ciryl Gane's performance was just nerves. Look, I don't think it was just nerves. I don't think that's why he lost. As you guys could tell from this breakdown, Jon Jones meticulously used his footage against him. He had a weapon. His game plan was designed for Ciryl Gane to pressure him on the side of the octagon. Like I said in my breakdown, Ciryl Gane's defense requires moving backwards and using his footwork. He can't move backwards when he's on the side of the octagon. And from literally the first 20 seconds, Jon Jones manages to make Ciryl Gane uncomfortable by taking away his weapons and moving him backwards, while Ciryl Gane is still worrying about that takedown. In my opinion, Jon Jones is just the greatest of all time. He still has it. I thought Jon Jones was the greatest beforehand. This just adds to it, just destroying Ciryl Gane. If you guys like this kind of breakdown style, I would love to do more. I did a video about Israel Adesanya totally differently than I did this video. If you guys want to check that out, I'll put it on the screen. Maybe I'll do one for Stipe since that fight's coming up, or maybe I'll do one for Usman and Edwards. Maybe I'll do this like once a week. We'll see. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please feel like if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next one.